Hi everyone. I hope you're enjoying this newsletter. It's good that we can share with you. I've just been writing a board report and reflecting on my time in Africa recently, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to share a story with you, a really significant event that came up while we were in Uganda. So Cheryl and I had been out to dinner with some of the staff members at Jenga, and we'd enjoyed some great time with them. And we were picked up after that dinner at their house and by a driver in a van. It was a wet night, lots of potholes in the road and lots of traffic. And we'd literally driven about 100 metres before two ladies on the side of the road flagged us down. And the driver said that they'd have a problem and could be taken to the hospital. So that was great. Sure, let's jump in. And the ladies jumped in, and one lady jumped in next to me in the back. And she had this bundle of blankets. And inside this bundle was a little baby boy who'd literally been born minutes earlier. I told the lady I was a nurse and asked if I could have a look at the child. And upon opening this bundle of blankets, there was this tiny little boy who was really clearly not doing well. He was grey, and clearly there wasn't a lot of blood flowing or oxygen flowing around his body. So I immediately told the driver that we needed to get to the hospital as soon as possible, that this was an emergency. And as you can imagine, my adrenaline was going bananas. I was just mentally exploding and making sure I could do the right thing. And so then I realized very quickly that I was going to have to start CPR. And this is a scenario that nurses train for all the time. I've done many refresher courses as a nurse over 25 years of my career. But you often train for how to handle a resuscitation event in a hospital with all the equipment and lots of doctors and lots of nurses around. And doing CPR on a baby in the back of a van bouncing down a road in Uganda is a whole different kettle of fish. So as you can imagine, it was a challenge. But all I could remember was 2-finger compressions and breaths and 30-2 ratio, and that's what I was trying to do. So I started compressions. There was Cheryl hanging over the top of us with her torch, offering encouragement. The others in the car were praying, and I was doing compressions and then adding a few breaths here and there as best I could, and trying to hang on basically as the car bounced down the road. Fortunately, after a couple of breaths I gave the baby took a breath, which gave me a lot of hope, and I was really pleased with that result. And within about 10 minutes we got to the hospital, continuing compressions, and I jumped out of the car, continued to run with the aunt who was carrying the baby. We ran down the corridor, and Joel, our driver, made the way, and then we burst our way into the neonate department at the local hospital. And I was expecting all the bells and the whistles. I was basically hoping that there'd be doctors and nurses and all the equipment that could just come and take over and help this child. But unfortunately, in that scenario, at that particular hospital, that wasn't to be. And there I was, the only foreigner in this place with about 50 sets of eyes, as lots of mums and dads with their other babies turned and looked at me and looked at Cheryl. And it was quite a surreal scenario. And unfortunately, there wasn't the rapid response that I was hoping for. Eventually, a nurse came after what seemed like an eternity, and she helped me continue to do some compressions. All the time I've been doing compressions and just praying for more enthusiasm and more help for this resuscitation. Anyway, we continued. We got some a mask and was able to bag some air into the little baby's lungs. We were able to suction his airway a little bit. And eventually he took another breath or two. And we had a small monitor on his foot, but his oxygen saturations were terrible, in the 50s, which really is not good. And I initially thought this was going to end really badly. But we kept praying, we kept going with resuscitation, and gradually and suddenly, gradually his numbers improved, and then he started to take more spontaneous breaths. And I guess it was over 5 minutes, the little baby, his name's Ryan, he started to breathe on his own, and which was a wonderful thing. His saturations came up, his heart rate came up, and he was breathing himself. He was on oxygen, and he was lying there, and you know, suddenly I wasn't needed anymore. But the job had been done, and we were able to help him, and he was now breathing for himself. And I was really, we just stepped out after a few more minutes and thanked the nurse and thanked the staff there. And as you can imagine, my adrenaline rate was still pumping like crazy. My heart rate was going nuts, and it took quite a while to come down. We went out back to the vehicle, and we prayed and thanked the Lord for His intervention. And this is such a great example of timing, you know, God's timing, because we could have been a few minutes earlier. We could have turned the other way, in fact, down another road to go home, and we would have missed this couple of ladies completely. And that little boy would have died right there and then on the side of the road. But the Lord had other plans, and we were there at the right time, and we were able to help him to the best of our abilities with some CPR. And what a fantastic result. We were able to go back a couple of days later. We saw Ryan, we saw him with his mum. He was doing well, he was feeding well, and we just praise God for such a wonderful outcome. And that event will stick in my memory forever. It's not often you get to be involved in a resuscitation event, and not often that you do it in the community and with such a good outcome. So I'm just grateful that the Lord helped me through that time and helped us with to be there at the right time. So that was just one event. The trip to Africa was so memorable, and I certainly won't forget it in a hurry. And I just want to thank you for standing with us in prayer and in support as you continue to help us and support us as we do great things in the Lord's name with our partners around the world. So thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed this story.